tonight.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. You already know this, but my name is Tembeka. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for all the love and support that you guys have shown on the past videos. So definitely more to come with that. But I felt that it was really super important, at least to me. But I paid off my car. Yes, this week I paid off my car. This is probably one of the biggest debts that I incurred up until my 30 years so far, other than like rent, how much I've spent on rent since I've moved to Toronto. But yes, the car was actually my first big girl purchase, I have to say. And the fact that I'm paying it off now is a huge weight off my shoulders. I'm so excited. Shout out to all of you that like celebrated with me on like Twitter and mainly my Instagram, she's.richer, which is like my money page. But yeah, it's such a good accomplishment. However, there's a lot of things that I felt like maybe I should share with you guys, because for some of you, you may have just gotten a car, are in a lease right now, or maybe you haven't owned a car yet and you're kind of nervous about the whole process. So I just wanted to walk you through the process, how I paid it off, what I'm gonna do now that I have no car payments, and like when am I gonna get a car again. So stay tuned for that. So just to go back a couple years, not even a couple years, 7 years to be exact, which is when I bought the car in 2014. I was driving my mom's like 2005 Malibu Max. Shout out to all my friends that either got a ride in that car, drove to pick them up in that car. Like it was basic. I'm talking no USB. So, you know, I was listening to music through like CDs. So there was no aux, not USB. There was no aux, there was no Bluetooth, there was no nothing in that car. But it got me from point A to point B. At that time, that was 7 years ago, I was like 23. So just having 4 wheels to be able to drive to like whatever club or party or friend's house, that was enough. So I rode that car until it was literally falling apart. So I vividly remember that August 2014, I needed repairs on the cars because that car was just on its last leg. So we went to the dealership, me and my dad, because you know the best thing about having a dad is that they will help you with stuff like that you don't want to deal with. So like I'm a girly girl, I won't even lie. And when I knew that car needed help, I was like, what do I do now? So I asked my dad to come with me to the dealership, his like mechanic guy. And they said that the car was gonna need like $1,500 in repairs. And at the time, like I said, I just graduated. Like I literally was still working as a teller at the bank. I was not making any crazy money. So I was like, what the hell, 1,500? Like I can't do that. So my dad said to me, okay, you can either put 1,500 into the car and fix it for now, which is like a band-aid solution, or get a new car. And the thought of getting a new car was terrifying to me, but I just had to do what I had to do. I had just graduated. I felt like, you know what, I'm a big girl. So I said, you know what, Daddy, I think I'm ready to get a new car. So literally that day, I think dealerships were closed by then. It was like later in the day when I decided that. So the next day, literally, me and my dad, we went out to go shopping for cars. Now he had a plug at the Chevy dealership. So we went to go see a Chevrolet Cruze. And this is the crazy part. So when I was a kid, my aunt had a Honda that had like a digital dash. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever that like, as she was speeding up, like it wasn't like a dial, it was numbers. Don't ask me why, I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. So I was like, I want a Honda Civic. Like that was my dream car. like my dream car for like my first car. So we went to the Chevy dealership. My dad's friend sat us down. He gave us really good pricing. I think even my dad had like points or something to put towards a Chevrolet car. So in the grand scheme of things, like this Chevy car probably would have cost me a lot cheaper than what I paid. But I was dead set on this Honda Civic. And the thing with me is like when I'm dead set on something, I won't enjoy it if I don't get that specific thing, specific model of the car or like specific anything. I'm not gonna be happy with it at the end of the day. So I said, you know what, Daddy, like I really have my heart set on a Honda. Like, can we just go see it? So he said, all right. So he took me to the Honda dealership. We got there and I saw the Honda Civic and I was like, this is it. Like, this is the car. It had even more features than my aunt's Honda Civic, which was like a pretty older model. So they did have that digital dash that I really, really liked. But then they also had like a side camera. So when I was doing my like, you know how you have to do your shoulder check, you have to do your left shoulder check. But in this Honda, they have a camera on the side. So technically like you don't even have to do a right shoulder check because the camera shows like the car is on the right side. So I was like, this is great. It had like Bluetooth, like everything my mom's car did not have, it had. Like I was that girl. So my dad sat down, we sat down with the salesperson. My dad really helped me negotiate like everything because I didn't understand, like this was my first time getting anything like this, right? So one thing I do want to point out was the term. So at the time I was making okay money given the fact that I was living at home, but it was like I was earning less than like $30,000. So the term that we chose was a 7-year term. Now, I understand it now, but at the time I didn't really know what that meant, amortization, the term. So you can choose whatever term you want. 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, 5, 6, 7, I think is the maximum that they do on a car. So he had said, you know, 7 years. And I said, wow, that's a long time. By then I'll actually be 30. Like I couldn't even imagine having the same car for 7 years, but the bi-weekly payments were decent. So every 2 weeks I was required to pay $172 and some change. And it was a lot at the time, but I could afford it. And actually, thinking back, I could have actually afforded a shorter term. But one thing I did want to point out to you guys, when you're picking a term, you definitely want to choose a term that will allow you to pay like a smaller payment rather than committing yourself to a shorter term. So let me give an example. Let's say you're buying a car and you know you're choosing your term and you're like, oh well, 5 years is the maximum I want to go. So they crunch the numbers and they say, okay, if you pay what you owe in 5 years, you will pay, you know, $250 bi-weekly. Now you may be able to pay that right now, but $250 per pay, so bi-weekly, it's still a chunk of change. Each month that's about $500, right? And if you know that your situation is not like solid, let's say you're renting and maybe you're thinking of going back to school, or like your life is just not solidified at that point, in that case, I would actually suggest, if you don't mind, obviously, I would actually suggest going with a longer amortization term. And the reason for that is because your payments are actually going to be smaller. So the longer your term is, the smaller the payments are. However, the term is longer. So for some people that might not be ideal, but for me it was important. Well, it wasn't important for me at the time because I didn't know, but going forward, with any sort of loan situation or whatever, I do typically try and get a term that allows for a smaller payment, just because, you know, why not? If I want to add more money later on, I can, but there's nothing worse than having a payment that you're like, shoot, like this thing kind of like runs my life, you know? So anyways, that was that. So we picked a 7-year term. So altogether, I got the warranty because, you know, there's a lot of new tech in this car, and my dad had suggested that I take the warranty because, you know, him knowing me and me knowing myself, like, I'm not a handy girl. I'm not gonna be under the hood of a car, tinkering around and all that stuff. So as somebody like myself who just kind of likes for things to get taken care of, he said, you should definitely get the warranty, because if anything happens, whether I was still living in Ottawa or not, because we never knew like what my life would turn out to be, he said definitely get the warranty and I'd be covered, so fine. So altogether, now I couldn't find the original number, which is really weird to me on my like portal, but altogether I'm pretty sure the car came to around like $35,000, which is a lot. I bought it brand new. I did not buy it pre-owned. I didn't buy like an older year. I literally bought like the newest model of the Honda Civic that they had. Also, my reason for that is, again, I'm not a handy girl. I'm not the type that's gonna be taking the car into different mechanics and trying to figure out if they're overcharging me or whatever. Like, I just wanted something that was out of the box. I could drive it and it would require as little maintenance as possible. So, oh my God, are you kidding me? My camera totally overheated. That's annoying. But anyways, what was I saying? Yeah, so I chose a brand new car versus one that was like already pre-owned and stuff, just because like with a brand new car, maintenance wise, like you don't have anything to worry about, right? For at least the 7 years that I've had this car, I haven't had to do any major maintenance, just my regular oil change. And like there was one time I had to do like the transmission fluid or something.
What?
But yeah, so no like crazy things I've had to do to the car, and that was important to me because yeah, I didn't want to deal with that. So that was pretty much what happened. So I got the car. Also, credit is so important, and I'll get into that in another video, but credit rating matters. Like, I think we all know by now that credit is important, and it just goes to show credit is even more important, and establishing that from like a young age, because me coming out of school, I wasn't earning that much, and this car was $35,000. However, for me to get approved for Hondas, okay, if my camera overheats one more time, I'm gonna scream. What was I saying? Yeah, credit. So I wasn't earning a lot of money at all. However, the fact that my credit was so good, that really allowed for me to get financing through the dealership. So two things: you can either get financing through the dealership or you can get financing through a car loan at your bank. Typically, car loans can range a lot in terms of interest rate. So can the financing through the dealership, but the kicker is if you have good credit, the dealership will like approve you on the spot. So for me, I was able to get approved for a 0.99% financing, which is way lower than anything the bank would ever give me for a car loan. So that was like really, really good for me, and that was my first kind of like way to see like the importance of credit, because without that I would have had to go through the bank. They would have given me a higher rate, and then my payments would have been higher because of that higher rate. I'm sorry guys, I don't know what the hell is going on, but my camera keeps overheating, so if this video is a bit like it's because of that. Anyways, so yeah, so we're talking about the good credit, right? We talked about amortization and the term and how you can be flexible if you choose a longer term. We talked about a new car versus a used car. For those of you that you know are a little bit handier, maybe a used car might be worth the lower price, but for any of you guys that are not like me, then don't want the stress, they don't want the hassle, then definitely a used car is better. Just looking at my notes here. And oh yeah, the brand matters too. So Chevy versus Honda, American versus, you know, Japanese brand, right? So for me, I didn't know this. This was actually my dad that told me this, but you know, and just from me seeing my mom have American cars, they break down like crazy, which can be really frustrating. And then like when you want to sell them, do they really hold their value? But for me, having a Honda, Hondas actually retain their value, and they are long lasting cars. It's really only Toyota and Honda that I've ever seen anybody have it for like, you know, years and years and years and years, where the kilometers are like way past 100,000. But I feel like for American cars, once you exceed that $100,000 mark, it's like, you're playing with fire, you know what I mean? So the good thing for me with this car is that when I do choose to sell it at whatever time that is, hopefully the value would have sort of held. Obviously, I'm not going to get $30,000 from it, but hopefully I'll still be able to get a 5-figure amount for the car, despite the fact that it's past 7 years. So it's like having a bag. Like all my ladies, I know you can relate to this, you know, you have your fast fashion brands like Gucci, right? And then you have your brands that are a little bit more timeless, like your Chanel's, your Louis Vuitton, and like your Hermes, right? So it's just a matter of does this brand carry weight, and does it have a good reputation? So I'm really happy that I decided to go with my gut, which usually I am pretty happy with. Like usually when I do go with my gut, it may be the more expensive option, but usually in the long run, I'm really happy with it. So selling it will not be a problem, I don't think. So what are my future plans? So I've had this car for 7 years now. Would I love to buy a new car? Absolutely. Like nobody will say that they don't love a new car smell. But I think for me, going through my financial goals and what I have planned for myself within the near future, a car wouldn't hinder. I mean, I could probably afford it. However, not having car payments, I gotta say, I'm not gonna miss those at all. You know, $350 that I was spending every month can go back in my pocket, and that can go towards something else. Which brings me to my next point. This doesn't have to just be a car. It could be a mortgage, it could be furniture that you've been trying to pay off or whatever. Always make sure that after you have paid off the debt, you have plans for that money that you were giving. So let's say I decide, and I haven't decided yet, I still have to sit down and kind of review my budget, but let's say I've been used to paying $350 every month for the past 7 years. Am I now gonna take that $350 and spend it because I know now that it's mine? I would love to, but that's not really the responsible thing to do, right? So now you think of, okay, I'm used to paying this $350. Where can I put it towards? And for me, I don't know, I'm looking to buy a home. Me and my boyfriend are looking to buy a home in the near future. So maybe that $350 can go towards a down payment, or maybe $350 can go towards paying off some other debt that I have. Right? So don't get comfortable with the fact that you're not paying that amount anymore. Definitely revisit your budget, revisit your financial goals, and think about where can you redirect that $350 or whatever the amount is. Where can you direct it so that you're just making better decisions, right? Paying off debt, saving towards school, saving towards a down payment, saving towards moving out. So there's so many things I'm sure that you have on your financial list that you want to tackle. So when you pay something off, do not just say, oh yes, I get this much money back. No, say, okay, you know, I'm used to paying this now. Where can I put that now, like going forward, that it'll make sense? So just wanted to touch on that. If you guys have any questions, hit me in the comments below. Thank you so much for your support. Subscribe, like, comment, share, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.